welcome to a special edition of Education Matters. We are calling this series 2 Centuries of Service to Students and the Community. We are talking to veteran board members who have served for 35 or more years on their Board of Education about the changes, why they run, why they like serving on the board, and some of the issues that they have seen. Today, I'm really excited with the 2 people I have. I have with me Jay Hughes from the Elk Township Board. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you, Ray. Thanks for having me.
And from the Southampton Board, I have Betty Wright. Welcome, Betty.
Good morning. Thank you again for having me also.
All right. Before we get into the role of the board, let's talk a little bit about your districts. Betty, why don't you just tell us a little bit about your school district?
Okay. Well, our district itself, the population of our students is rather small. We are a K-8 district, and we only have about 700 students. However, the area is large. It includes the Pinelands, which can cause some difficulties with things, as you can imagine. We have a senior citizen community, and it's, it can be a challenge for that, but it's a nice rural community, and it's a close-knit community.
Okay. And just to follow up, it's also in Burlington County, right?
In Burlington County, yes, which is obviously, but it's a pretty large, Burlington County is pretty big too, so.
Yeah. Jay, can you tell us a little bit about Elk?
Yes, Elk Township is basically a 21 square mile rural community, lots of agriculture. We don't have the Pinelands like Betty's community has, which I'm sure takes up a large part of the land mass. We are a pre-K through 6 elementary because we're part of a 7-12 limited purpose regional. You're probably part of a 9-12 Betty limited purpose regional. And we have about half the student population that what Betty's district does, with 2 grades less. We're in basically the southwest corner of Gloucester County. We border Salem County, Franklin Township, which we're part of the regional district with Delsey Regional, Clayton, Glassboro, Harrison, South Harrison going around us, and Upper Pitts in Salem County. And we have had some occasional small developments coming in with people that are moving from someplace else, want to get out into the country and get their children into the educational system. So that's pretty much where we are.
Okay. As I said in the opening, they've served for 35 or more years. Betty, you're going into your 36 now.
Yes.
Why did you run, if you can remember, 35, 36 years ago? Why did you run for the board then?
It was important to me to be involved in the community and to help give back to the community. So that they were pretty much my reasons for it. It certainly wasn't for the pay. The pay is the pay is in rewards. It's not in dollars. So, and that's something that some people don't realize, I don't think, but it is rewarding nonetheless.
Great. Okay, Jay, we're going back quite a few years, 46, I believe.
Yes.
And so why did you run back then?
To give back to the community. My parents were very community involved and tried to instill that in their children. I'm the oldest of 3 surviving. And in addition to the community aspect of it, just to give you an idea, for the Aura Volunteer Fire Company, we also do heavy rescue because Route 55 runs through the middle of us here. I've been a member there for over 56 years, coming up on 57 when I hit my birthday. I've been on my local planning and zoning board, which is a combined board, for many years. A lot of community involvement. Curiously, my father was a member of the Elk Township Board prior to me serving on it. When the Delsey Board was created, he was appointed to the original board, was a charter member by the then county superintendent of schools. After serving both of those, while the Gloucester County VOTEC, as it was called then, not GCIT, was being built, he was asked to serve on that board, which was after his term with Delsey. So my dad actually served on 3 boards of education. My mother served on the PTA, as Betty has talked about doing that herself. So my parents were involved in the local school and the schools that served our community as well as our county.
All right. What do you see as the biggest challenge with being a school board member, an effective school board member? Betty, what about you?
Trying to get them to understand that we are mandated to do certain things. And it's not just, the board being mean or, oh, we don't want to do this or we don't care because, you get threatened like, well, you just don't care and all that. And that's not true at all. And that's, I think that's one of the hardest parts is trying to get people to understand that there's just certain things, our hands are tied and they don't realize that.
Jay, what about you? What's the biggest challenge that you see?
Our biggest challenge, as Betty said, is making people understand this is not of our doing. This is not of our superintendent's doing either. They are bound by whatever comes down in an executive order. And if you don't like the executive order, you don't like what the governor's doing or like them, coming to us and venting your spleen about it is the wrong forum to do this.
You served with a lot of other board members over the time. And some, we were talking beforehand, you have some board members who you've been serving with for a long time and others have maybe just 1 or 2 terms. What do you see as, what does it take to be an effective school board member with your colleagues? Betty, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Thank you. I think, first of all, you got to be a good listener. And sometimes that's hard to do when people are yelling at you and so on. I mean, just as Ray was talking recently, we had a couple people, accuse us of not paying attention, not looking at them and not this and that. And it's like, well, sometimes that's hard when somebody's yelling at you to, we're listening, but, do I want to look at you yelling at me? Not necessarily. So listening, I think, is a very important aspect. And then training, school boards gives a lot of training, and until you've been on the board for a while, even myself, you need to continue with the training to be a more effective board member. Things change and we have to change with the times, and to make sure the schools are run well, not to run the schools.
Jay, what about you?
I tell the people, you will need a minimum of 1 year to be able to see everything that has the chance or opportunity to occur in the school within its cycle, within its time frame, to unfold and let you experience this and enrich yourself by this as a board member, especially for the ones starting out. If you've got questions, you've got a superintendent, not a business administrator. You can ask questions of, and they always tell us, you got questions, contact me, ask me about it. You've also had board members that have been there longer, that have had, merely by the matter of time, the chance and the opportunity to see more than what you haven't yet. Or if you're in your 2nd or 3rd term, it's still sometimes new things come your way. And that's only going to help you become a better board member, which will make you a more effective board member.
I started, one of the first questions I asked you, why you ran many years ago the first time, but you've had to make a decision every 3 years pretty much to stay. And obviously you must be doing something right because you keep getting reelected. But why do you stay on the board? And Jay, I'll start with you on this one. Why do you stay on the board, decided to stay on the board?
I view myself as a community member as the steward or a steward of the educational process of everybody's children in our community, writ large, the entire community, because they're all our kids. I mean, they're not my kids. They're not your kids. They're everybody's children. And that's the view I try to adopt for this. And one of the reasons I stay on there is I still enjoy it, that it's a lucky person who can go to work every day and truly enjoy their work, because it will never be work to them. And if I can say this about my volunteer service, because this is what this is, my community service, that's a good thing. I mean, I've retired.
Betty, why do you stay?
As I said before, it's not for the pay, but it's for the rewards. It's definitely for the rewards. It's rewarding to know that I had just a small part of helping other children to have a better education or a good education. It makes my heart feel good that I was a small part of somebody else's life, that that I could help in that in some small way in their lives. And again, sometimes I do ask myself that question, but it's not about just my children. It's about everybody. It's about the community, the whole thing. It's the big picture. It's not just about me or my family. It's about everyone and helping the community. So that's my reason for staying on.
Both of you have served for a long time, and before we started this, we know that you have colleagues who also served a long time, not maybe as long as you, but pretty significant. Do you think having someone on the board, not necessarily everyone, but having someone on the board who has that institutional knowledge, that long-term, can help the board make decisions because of your institutional knowledge? Jay, I'll start with you.
I don't know whether it's so much that, Ray, although it is a part of it, because I'm referred to as the historian in all the areas I serve the community, is because I'm the oldest, and I've been there doing it the longest. And though I got some that are close to me in age and whatever, but I think for the ones who wish to reach out to us, using us as a touchstone, so to speak, I think that's valuable for them to be able to have that, instead of talking to the superintendent, instead of talking to the BA, or in addition to talking to them.
What about you? Do you think having a long-term serving board member, because you have a couple on your board?
Right. One of the years when I was president, I remember at that time I was not a senior citizen, and thinking why a senior citizen was elected to our board, and he was just, I don't know, way out there. He was after us. It seemed that way as a younger person. And I wasn't a lot younger, but I was younger. And I thought, wow, this is a real challenge. And he turned out to be one of our best board members. Within 6 months' time, he realized that we weren't bad people and that we were doing things the way we should be doing them. And now I see the tables turned, as now I'm the senior citizen out there. And there are times when I feel that sometimes the younger ones, as I probably was at the time, really didn't want to hear what the older ones had to say. Whatever. So I think it's a great mix. I think you need that mix, because you need all perspectives. You don't want all just parents, or all just, whatever community member it is. You need a mix. And that, I think, makes for a good board, to have the mix of ages and personalities, and what your background is, what jobs you were in before, or are currently in to make it for a good board, because it is teamwork.
You've both been on a long time. Putting COVID aside, which I know is almost impossible, but what are maybe the biggest change that you've seen over the years in education, or just the way you make board decisions over that time? Betty?
But I think technology has been a huge change in my tenure. I mean, I remember when there were conversations going on. This kind of sounds funny, but whether or not you were allowed to use a calculator. Oh my gosh, what? You're going to let them use a calculator? Like, what is that? Why? And now we're using computers, and we're using smart boards in the classrooms, and 3D printers, and all this, and it's they're the big changes that I see.
Jay, what about you?
I can't agree with Betty more on technology. We both remember when there wasn't a computer in the classroom.
Right.
It was like, oh, we're going to put in 3 or 4 computers to the classroom, whatever it was, for the students. The teacher had one on their desk. Before we ever get to what Betty's saying, the smart boards, everybody has a Chromebook. I've got my district issued Chromebook sitting right here on the desk with me, if need be, to have it. Children are taking their Chromebooks home. It was valuable last year that we've evolved down to everybody having a Chromebook. Even some of them came from the good graces of the regional school district.
Finally, you guys both touched on a couple new board members, but say someone's elected, not in your district, but someone comes up to you, says, Jay or Betty, I'm going to be sworn in. At the time of this filming would be this week. I'm going to be sworn in. Any advice you have for me as a newly elected board member, my first year? I know, Jay, you talked about that, the cycle, the first year. So what advice, Jay, would you give someone when they're coming into their first year as a board member?
You got to keep your eyes and ears open. You've got to listen. You've got to learn. You've got to be a sponge. I said, soak up everything you can. A lot of training available to you out there at no cost. Some you can sign up for yourself. Some the BA has to sign you up for, but that's fine. Also, to get your mandated training under your belt as soon as possible. Hopefully, some of our newer people elsewhere out there took advantage of the 3 R's program, which I think you ran back in November, right, or early December. And then there were orientations for prospective new board members that I don't remember if that was prior to or just after election, but all of these are rich and learning experience opportunities for that. And if you are asked to vote on something and you don't understand, you're brand new to this, or you haven't seen it come your way yet, do not hesitate to stop us and ask us, please explain this to me so I can make an informed vote, because otherwise you can't make an informed vote, and we want everybody's vote to be an informed vote.
Betty?
Remember that we work as a team. And as Jay said, there's no I in team. And participate in any of the training, any of the, even the county board dinners and so on that you can get to, talk to other board members, and that's always what was nice. I thought about part of the workshops in Atlantic City, which of course we haven't been able to physically participate. Hopefully we will this year, who knows? But, to get perspective, because sometimes you think that you're the only one or the only board. Don't be afraid. And there's no stupid question.
That's correct.
It's like, we don't expect these people to know everything that we're talking about. And sometimes as a veteran board member, you just, so you don't say the whole thing, and you don't explain it maybe in a way that a new person would understand. So you're very correct in saying, ask the question. Don't feel it's stupid. Ask it, because even some of the veteran board members might like to hear that answer again. It may be something with curriculum or whatever that we're not quite sure about, but we think that's right. So we say yes, but ask the questions. Don't be afraid. Don't try to grandstand things. I don't like a grandstander.
Kind of bring us to the end of this conversation. And I obviously believe that you did have something important to share, or I wouldn't have asked you to come on, because I have seen the veteran board members who have served for a long time, and there's an art to being a school board member. And sometimes you have to learn as you go along, and you guys have learned a lot and you passed your wisdom along. And also, on behalf of the New Jersey School Board Association, I want to thank you for your service to Elk and to Southampton, because you have affected a lot of students over that course of that time. Jay, you talked about your grandchildren are now out there. So think about all the children that you have touched lives on. And I know, Betty, you said it was maybe a small amount, but that small amount multiplied with all those students and all those other board members and all those other administrators is a large amount. So on behalf of New Jersey School Board Association, I want to thank you for your years of service. And I hope everyone who watches this enjoyed listening to Betty and Jay and this series on 2 centuries of service to the school and to the students and to the community. So thank you.